Look, have mercy on me.
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to On the Bluff. Gabe Coon, what's up, brother?
Episode 51, baby.
51.
Yeah, no, man, nothing's up.
Nothing
is up in the world of Gabe Coon.
I'll tell you one thing. It's cold outside.
Yeah, it is.
I do not like that.
I wore a t-shirt in the studio today.
Crazy dude.
I'm still not ready. I gotta get all my winter clothes, my winter collection out.
Yeah, I'm basically done with being outside at this point. It's
Really?
way too cold for me now. Once it gets under like 55, I am done.
I was thinking back to my playing days, and there's like, I used to hate it because like O-linemen, there was always like people gatekeep sleeves.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Do you know that? Like where they're like, O-linemen can't wear sleeves. O-line coach, strength coach would be like,
No
you come out
sleeves.
with sleeves, they're like, you're soft.
Yeah.
This type of weather throws me back to that, and I was
They
always
hit you with the
one where-
grow up.
Yeah, the grow up,
Yeah.
sleeves, grow up.
Grow
Grow
up. Yeah. You're a man now.
But no, I need to wear some sleeves, man. I need to not get a cold,
Yeah.
my seasonal cold.
You're not an offensive lineman anymore.
Dude, once an offensive lineman, always an offensive
He's
lineman.
got that offensive lineman mindset still.
You're not an active offensive lineman. How about
What do you
that?
mean by that, Kenny? What do you mean by that?
You're a dog, bro.
Okay.
Do you think so? I think Gabe has like a more skill position mindset.
Okay. Okay. What do both of you mean by this?
I'll tell you one thing.
Can we find common ground here?
Exactly
You know what
I
it
mean.
means? Let me tell you what it means. It means if you have an offensive lineman mindset, you're not a.
Oh God.
Oh my gosh! What? You're bringing that word to the air?
That was brash.
What are we talking about, Kenny? Kenny just says stuff on this show,
He
man. He just like.
We need to. Weekends now where you can actually relax and chill.
Oh, yeah, that is a definite positive of getting through my wedding and not
All
having
the
anybody
other
else's
weddings that you're
weddings
in.
until like next year.
Yeah.
I don't have anything till
because you
really
missed a
next
lot
year.
of football this year,
Yeah, I did. I sure did.
but now you might be home free.
Yeah, I watched a lot of college football on Saturday, I must say.
What about Sunday?
A little bit.
Just a little bit.
Yeah. I was doing things around the house for the first half of the day, so I didn't really, weirdly enough, didn't get to sit and catch the noon slate at all. I just sort of got to there to like the 3 o'clock slate.
Dang,
And
near
then
blasphemous.
Sunday night football.
Have you invested in the
Football.
Have you invested in the Sunday ticket where you can just watch them all, or do you just?
I
have
have
the
so
normal?
I actually, I'm about to name drop here. Shout out Xfinity. I have an Xfinity deal, an endorsement deal at the station, and they have hooked it up. I have like NFL Red Zone and like all ESPNU, ESPN News, where I didn't have it before because I
Nice.
have a nice little endorsement deal with them. So that's been nice. But I have Red Zone. I have the Scott Hansen treatment
Yeah,
going for me, which is. What do you think about Red Zone? I love Red Zone.
I had it too.
I do, but sometimes I want to see more of the game at a time.
So
That's my own. That's obviously the big drawback.
I'll tell you the way me and my friends do it on the weekend, right? So TV inside, TV outside, and he has Red Zone and Sunday ticket. So with the Sunday ticket, you can do like quad boxes where you can pick like
That's
multi-view
beautiful.
games. So
That's
inside,
beautiful.
usually we have Red Zone going, and then outside we'll have like 4 games in a quad box, usually with like where the majority of our fantasy players are playing or bets lie. So that's how we do it, and
So-
that's kind of to me that's the best way to go
That is
because
good.
if you want to watch Red Zone and you want to
Catch every touchdown.
just catch all the touchdowns and stuff, you kind of chill in there and do that. And if there's specific games you want to watch, then you go outside and you check out your specific games.
Football season, minimum amount of TVs that should be out in use. 2?
2 is bare
Yeah,
minimum.
bare minimum.
1 is
Well, yeah.
it's not nearly.
Although
enough.
ESPN has done really good job with their app. If you have ESPN Plus, you can do the quad box as
Yeah.
well with like college football,
Right.
which is nice,
Yeah.
very nice.
you can do. I
enjoy
mean,
it.
you can do that on with YouTube TV also. Like
Yeah.
you can do multi-view games. So
yeah.
yeah, the YouTube TV with not to go against Xfinity. I know you're
No, that's fine.
locked in with
No,
them, but
that's cool.
yeah, to have the red zone and Sunday ticket, and then what the YouTube TV does is like the multi views with college as well. So
Right.
it's pretty solid.
Yeah.
It's hard to beat. But yeah,
Shout out Xfinity though.
yeah, but yeah, shout out. to Xfinity, though. But yeah, two TVs bare minimum. One is just you're not getting enough.
It's blasphemous.
It's blasphemous.
It's behavior.
Yeah.
Behavior.
Yeah.
You need to grow up.
Yeah.
If you only have one TV out, grow
Definitely
up.
grow up. Definitely grow up. Kenny, what? I'm scared of whatever you're about to say.
Aren't y'all glad I introduced this word? So now that it's
Not at
become
all.
the
Not at
norm?
all. It's not. It shouldn't be a norm.
Okay, I'm sorry.
It should not be a norm. I think we should nip it in the bud right now.
You're acting like you don't like that word.
I like it off air.
Okay.
I don't want to say it to the people out there and put it in their vocabulary. I just don't think it. It's not a nice thing to say all the time.
But pretty funny.
It can be
Pretty funny.
and it can cut deep as like an insult.
I mean,
it's just one of those words.
it should only cut deep as an insult if someone's actually doing the true meaning of the word. Then it cuts deep. If you're not doing that and you're just showing that behavior,
maybe not cut deep, but it's just like it's a hard hitting word.
You're
It's
right.
like it's just like
Yeah.
it's a punchline. No matter
Yeah.
when you say it, it means something. It
Yeah.
just
you feel it a little more. I see what you're
Yeah.
saying. I'm with you on that.
Well, I went camping this weekend.
is that right?
And how was that?
Grow up.
Yeah, grow up, dude. What are you, 14?
Well, it rained the entire time, so that was miserable.
How's your back?
My back is always messed up. It always hurts, so it doesn't feel any different than it
Here at the
normally-
breakout, you can lay on the ground. I'll walk on it for you.
Please do. I've been meaning to ask you that.
Slipped your mind?
Gabe,
Yeah.
step on my back, Gabe.
Yes, I will. I'll walk on your back. We'll get that
Yeah.
thing. Curb Your Enthusiasm. They say if your voice heightens, you're lying.
Most of the
So
time.
he's like, yeah, we're fine.
Yeah.
We're good.
Everything's
yeah,
good.
Nothing to see here.
Everything's good.
Everything's fine.
Yeah. So I don't know, Kenny.
I don't either.
You got me questioning things now.
I've been questioning things for a long time, my brother.
Don't put that out into the ether.
We've put a lot out into the ether already. Why not?
Yeah,
we're open books at this point.
Yeah,
dude.
we need to move in a different direction
Yes.
and get on topic. What about this weekend? What'd you think about the Memphis Tigers, the North Texas Mean Green?
That was a
Memphis played probably their best half of football in the first half. After talking about the UAB
Sure.
game, they played their best half of football
Great.
in the second half, which is when you want to play your best football. They flipped the script completely this week. They played a wonderful first half, thumping North Texas.
31-10
like we
at
thought
half.
they should have, because 7.5 point favorites. I didn't think I was like that's crazy. They should smash that. Looked like they were going to. Luckily, I didn't bet on it because they did not smash it, and they only ended up winning 45-42. North Texas went on a second half bonanza on Memphis's defense?
I mean, I have a lot of thoughts. First half, great. Second half, all my thoughts, none of them are good.
No.
I have no good thoughts about what I saw.
No.
I thought defensively, the staff didn't put the defense in the best of positions, although in a lot of those situations, it's Chandler Rogers with a one-on-one with a wide receiver, and the DB is in phase, in a good spot to make a play, and just doesn't
make a play on the ball.
You know, whether it's Diego Brumfield or whoever the hell was out there, just not making plays when the ball's in the air. Couldn't stop the run for some reason. Couldn't tackle anyone. Offensively, couldn't catch the ball. Stopped running the ball. You can act like there were some questionable play calls, I think, on third and fourth down as you got into the later stages of the third quarter and the fourth quarter. But ultimately, like, if I'm just putting a tab on it, just awful execution all around.
Yeah.
And I know that's lame and cliche, but my God, how many times I had to watch Joe Skates drop a TD. I had to watch Demir Blankumsey in that fourth quarter drop 2 conversions, easy conversions that hit him right in the zero. I watched the defense consistently miss tackles on easy inside zone run plays. It was just frustrating. It was frustrating as hell. But the problem is this type of thing has happened consistently in the past. If this was the first time it ever happened, I don't know if we'd hear as much anger at Ryan and the staff.
Right.
I think they'd probably aim it at players a little bit more. Hey, they didn't execute. But we've seen this happen so many times before. A Houston game last year, UTSA game 2 years ago, several others mixed in there. We've seen this happen where they have these second half, fourth quarter, late collapses, and it just looked all too damn familiar.
Yeah. No, I mean, I couldn't agree.
Did they pull through? Sure.
Yes.
But, it doesn't leave you feeling all warm and fuzzy and good inside.
No, I mean, to me, the only, maybe not the only, because I think there's a couple things, and I'll hit on them in a minute. But the biggest thing that it's like a breath of, not fresh air, but just a relief, I guess, is that they didn't lose.
They didn't
this
crumble.
Game. No, they crumbled. They just didn't lose.
Oh, okay, sure, they crumbled.
They crumbled.
They just did not lose.
Yes, they didn't lose.
They answered at the very end when they needed to. Seth Hennigan, shout out to Seth. That was one thing throughout his career. Name a fourth quarter game-winning drive, comeback drive that he has been able to convert at this point, or a game-tying drive. Mm-hmm. That's like the first one. And like that's a big check mark, big monkey off the back to be able to execute in a time of need for your team.
Yeah.
We haven't really seen that from him.
And imagine the conversations that we'd be having right now if they would have blown that game and Seth wouldn't have driven them down the field and scored a late touchdown for them to win that game. Oof.
Yeah, no, it would be horrible.
Very bad. But they pulled it out. That game shouldn't have been nearly that close. They were clearly a better team. Second half execution was horrible. Absolutely horrible. I do want to talk about Blake Watson, though.
He's a freak. He's awesome.
3 50-plus yard touchdowns.
What can you say about that? I mean, he's unbelievable. Or are you talking about this season?
No, didn't he?
He only had 2. He only had 2 touchdowns.
Okay.
But they were both 50-plus. One was from 65 out.
I thought he had 2 rushing and a...
No, he had 100 yards receiving. He didn't have a TD there, though, from what I understand. I'm pretty sure.
Let's stat check it. You could very well be right, but
I'm pretty sure he just got kept out on that screenplay. I could be wrong. I'm almost positive, though. I'm almost positive.
I guess we'll find out shortly.
He did not have a TD.
He did not.
He did not have a TD receiving.
Okay.
So he only had the 2, but they were 2 big-ass runs.
Regardless, big play machine.
Yeah. Let's be honest, too. North Texas's run defense was all it was cracked up to be, and that was
worst in the country.
It was horrible.
Horrible.
First, or was it the third play from scrimmage was a 65-yard run?
Yep.
And it was, the hole was like, I could have run through that for 25 at the very least.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous.
Yeah,
that defense was
bad.
Awful.
Yeah,
absolutely awful.
And it goes back to something you were saying earlier. It kind of begs the question, why did they abandon the run?
I don't know.
I know they ended up falling behind and stuff and, maybe felt a sense of urgency, but, you're talking about scoring quickly and putting points on the board. I mean, it was extremely easy to score quickly on the ground. They could not stop anything.
They can stop a running nose.
No.
Yeah. So I don't know what to say, man. This is the conversation I've had with a few people about that second half in particular. you see a lot of people who go after Ryan and say, oh my gosh, same old story, letting a bad team back in the game, almost losing or losing most of the time. They actually won this one. So people go after Ryan. As a football guy, as a dude who just watched the players, who watched that game with my eyeballs, I saw defensive players in positions to tackle a ball carrier in the run game, didn't do it. I saw people in positions to make plays on the ball when Chandler Rogers threw it up for grabs in a one-on-one situations. They didn't make a play. I saw on offense, Demir Blankenship drop 2 freaking balls that would have had you convert and could have put North Texas away. Didn't do it. I saw Joe Skates drop a damn touchdown pass. He didn't catch it like in that moment. I saw a collective letting go of the rope. Now, I guess if you're going to go after Ryan, you'd say, we've seen this before. This continues to happen. He didn't have his guys ready to go. But I thought game plan-wise, I thought they were in positions to go make plays. They just didn't make the plays they were supposed to. And that's frustrating to me. And I guess, at this point with Ryan, when you see a comeback like that, it just almost becomes confirmation bias for a lot of the fan base. It's like, look at this. This shit's happening again.
Yeah.
Right. It's like confirmation bias. But if you really watch that game, it was a collective letting go of the rope by a lot of the players actually playing on the field. And it was very strange to me.
Yeah. There's a difference, and you can feel it in a game when it's coaching or being conservative or questionable play calls versus execution, that where you're like, okay, the play call really wasn't that bad, or I don't mind that decision that was made there, it just wasn't executed, or players were in the right position and you think, okay, that was good coverage, a good coverage scheme, a good defensive scheme they were playing there. And I feel like that was a lot of this game, was everything looked pretty good. I don't recall too many questionable decisions or calls.
There's 2 calls that I'll bring up that I think also would they sort of offset with what happened after and everything else. But or before. The one was to Rock Taylor, that 4th and 1. Tried to throw a slant play, just had Rock. Hey, throw it to Rock. That's clearly what was said before the play. And he didn't even come close to beating his guy off the line. Not even close.
Against the worst run defense in the country.
But this is, yes, I get that. But on 3rd and 1, Brandon Thomas got stuffed. Right. So maybe you could argue about that as well. But that sequence of events was one that bothered me. The other one is kind of strange. It was 3rd and 6. You run a read option with Seth. Stupid. He loses a yard. Yeah. But then that was the 4th and 6 where Demir got hit right in the 0 on a hitch route and just dropped it and did not. You didn't get the conversion there. Right. But that 3rd down play I'm mad at, and I guess I'm mad at that whole sequence with the 3rd and 4th and 1 where they ended up throwing to Rock. Brandon Thomas couldn't get the 1 yard. But outside of that, I see people doing the second guessing of, why would you go for it on North Texas's 40 at the end of the game, 4th down? My thought process there is Chandler Rogers, this North Texas team is going to score anyway. Yeah. I don't care if you pin them. Clearly the defense is not making any plays right now. So let's try to put this thing away offensively. Yep. Let's just try.
I'm with you.
And then they had a chance to put it away. Yeah. He dropped, Demir Blankenship dropped another ball. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't get mad at that play call either. I like being aggressive in that situation when you have a defense who's clearly reeling and cannot make plays.
And to only be able to bring up 2 play calls or 2 sequences from a game that you don't disagree with. There
was no real clock management issues. No. He kept his 3 timeouts with 40 seconds at the end of that game. Yeah. Guys got out of bounds and executed on that last drive. But before that, just on both sides of the ball, just let go of the rope.
Yeah. So, Gabe, in this exciting extravaganza of an end to a football season for the Memphis Tigers, who's up next? Is it Charlotte?
South Florida.
South Florida? Yeah. Okay. So Memphis is back home.
Look at you, man. Look at this.
I've just
this exciting extravaganza made you forget who they're playing.
I know.
Next.
I just had some Charlotte jokes, and I was just wanting it to be.
Are you going to drop those next week when we talk about Charlotte?
Yes.
Okay.
But it's South Florida this week.
Trickier than it should be. It doesn't. I'm not coming into this game with any level of like crazy positivity.
You got
put together a full 4 quarters of a game.
You got a line. You got a line on this game.
Let's see. It's right here. 12.5. Tigers are favored by at home. So
they should smash that.
should sure.
But
will they?
Probably not.
Yeah.
Probably like a 4 or 5 point game, something like that.
Like, and by the way, like if they even they've put together quarters and maybe a half at a time. They have not put together a full game at all.
No.
Because I think if I'm putting the Ryan Silverfield era in words, it's that you feel at times that you're headed in the right direction. You feel for a half of a game like, my God, this team could really be something.
But that's it.
But it's halves at a time.
Yep.
And then they just let go of the rope and look terrible for another half, and you're like, oh, this is a disaster.
Yeah, no, there has not been a full game this season where you went, okay, that is the team that
has there been a full game the last 2.5 years?
It's a tough question. Not necessarily that I can recall.
So, I mean, if we're just going through this, Bethune-Cookman, Arkansas State, I thought Arkansas State, they played bad offense. Just leave that out. Navy did not put together a full game. Mizzou, definitely not a full game. Boise State, they picked it up in the second half, but not a full game. Tulane, they picked it up in the first half, not a full game. UAB, awful in the first half.
Yep.
Second half, good, not a full game. North Texas, great in the first half, bad in the second half, not a full game. Have some level of consistency quarter to quarter, half to half.
Right.
It's just it's mind-boggling.
Now, Gabe, if you take the UAB second half
and the North Texas first half. Look at you.
And you smash those together.
Oh, yes. That's a full game.
That's a full game.
Yes.
And so they outscored North Texas 31-10 in the first half. What did they outscore UAB in the second
24 to nothing, if I'm not mistaken.
So technically, not technically, but in a different world.
In 2 halves of football.
That could have been.
Let's do some real quick math, guys.
In 2 halves, I'm told there'd be no math.
That could have been 55.
55 to 10. 55 to 10. In 2 halves of football. Hey.
And they were consecutive.
Look at you, just bending the mind to try to make it a positive.
Yeah.
No, but 4 more games. Run the table, or I don't think anyone's going to be excited. There we go.
Yep. Don't disagree. But I will tell you something people are excited about, and that is the University of Memphis basketball program.
They should be, too.
They should be. You and I both agree on this, and we'll get into it and talk about it. They played their first exhibition game over the weekend against Lane College. It was absolute domination, as it should be.
106 to 49.
106 to 49. Best players in this game, David Jones, Jordan Brown, Malcolm Dandridge played really well. Nick Jourdain played really well. Caleb Mills added 11 points. This is what they were supposed to do. This is what it was supposed to look like. But I think UI and Kenny as well would all agree that this team has the makings of a team that could be special. I believe that we all feel that they're being underrated nationally, and understandably so. We've talked about the reasons why it makes sense if you're outside of the program or outside of the city and you just don't have a beat on it as much. But this team could be really freaking good this
Andy
year.
Katz named him as one of his top 10 teams that he's his dark horses to potentially make a Final Four run, and why not? I'm not going to say I necessarily would bet them into the Final Four, but hell, they have the makings of a team that is very successful in college basketball. They have a lot of experience, especially in the starting lineup, and even off the bench. They look solid. And some of these freshmen impressed me. Carl Sharonfont and J.J. Taylor were picked to be freshmen or newcomers of the year. I don't know if that's going to come true, but Ashton Hardaway is one of the best shooters on the team.
Right.
Like, I want to see him in action.
And they shot
then we'll start
really well from 3 in this game. Just
9
overall.
for 18. And then we'll start talking about, like, if Ashton Hardaway gets, like, real minutes, we'll talk about where he stands in conference as a shooter. Because Penny compared him to Tyler Harris.
Yeah.
But he says he's got some height on him. Like, this is different than what I've dealt with in the past. Like, he can really shoot the ball, so maybe he'll get minutes. But the biggest difference I can see is, okay, you can talk about DeAndre Williams and Kendrick Davis and whether or not they'd be the best players on this team. You could make that argument. But last year it was Kendrick Davis and DeAndre Williams. Then you were dealing with Elijah McCadden and Demaria Franklin.
Keontae Kennedy
and all these guys who were solid some games, but you can't rely on them.
Right.
I think when you go like 3 to 10 on this roster, you can rely on these guys substantially more than you did a year ago with those guys.
Sure.
You traded in Demaria Franklin, Keontae Kennedy, and Elijah McCadden for Jaquan Walton, David Jones.
Yeah.
You know, Jordan Brown's there.
Yep.
Who else?
Nick
Caleb
Jourdain.
Mills, Nick Jourdain. I mean, you just keep going down the list and you feel confident about all these guys and what they can bring to the table. Way more confident than you felt about this team a year ago and the reserves they had.
Yeah. No,
They're role players.
I completely agree. And I want to talk about David Jones specifically. He was really the standout of this game. And we knew when Memphis landed him what he is. He's a true two-way player. Very good offensively, very good defensively, not necessarily a selfish player by any means. No. And he showed all of that on Sunday against Lane. And you made a pretty bold statement off air that Conference Player of the Year is on the table for him.
I mean, he had 17. It's against Lane. 17 minutes, 17 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists. Only took six field goal attempts.
Right.
To do that. Steals, getting out and like that's going to help facilitate a Conference Player of the Year, nod for him. But we'll see how it all plays out because I think you do have to have the requisite scoring to be able to get an award like that.
Yeah, I mean Marcus Sasser wasn't the best scorer in the conference.
I also don't think he should have won it.
I mean, yeah, we've at length had that conversation last year.
I get it. Best player on the best team,
right? And that's what could happen. That's on the table for him for sure.
Yes.
But it's encouraging. Once again, like it's what you should do, but it was encouraging to see. Though I think more so, and we talk about this all the time in games that aren't against quality opponents, it's more about what the product looks like as a whole rather than specific players and specific moments and stuff like that, because defenses are going to be way better. Players they play against are going to be way better, and we get that. But what they look like as a unit, I think is always going to be what you can take away in a game like that.
And if you want to nitpick the game against Lane, the one thing I'd say is 13 turnovers, not great. But again, against Lane and Javon Quinterly's got a minor injury he's dealing with. He didn't play at all, and he's going to be the table setter all year.
Right.
And 3 of those turnovers came from Caleb Mills, who had to be on ball more than he probably should.
Right.
Have to be on ball during the year unless there's injuries. So.
Yeah, and that's another thing. This team wasn't at full strength.
Let me ask you this, just straight up. With how many guys are on this team, do you think without question, like at this point, you would project David Jones as the guy? Like David Jones is the headliner of this Tigers team going in to the non-conference schedule.
I don't think they have. I mean, I'm with you. Like, I don't know if they have a true headliner that it's like, this guy
they have multiple.
Yeah, but it's like you were saying with projecting points and stuff like that. I don't know if they have a single player on this team that's going to go get his every night. And I don't necessarily think they're designed to do that.
Yeah.
And this is the conversation that we've been having.
Ride the hot hand type team is what it is.
This is a conversation we've been having since the spring when this was all coming together. And it was like, David Jones, could he be that guy? Yes, he could be the headline.
Brown could
but
be.
Jordan Brown
Javon Quinterly could be.
Yeah. Caleb Mills could be. Like, Jaquan Walton could be on any given night. So it's hard to say who is, if anyone, becomes a headliner.
Don't you feel that narrative sort of emerging? Like, Penny seems to love him. Yes. And David Jones, I'll give him this, got a really good personality, talks to the press really well. Yeah. Like, I see this narrative forming around, David Jones is the headliner. He's the guy for this team. He's the head of the snake. And that's the narrative, but I don't know if that's the full truth of it. I agree with you.
And this is a guy that hasn't even been here that long.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, had to come in late and has
played with the Dominican national team this offseason, basically. So, like, he hadn't been here long at all.
Yeah. But, I mean, prospects are looking good. One more exhibition game before the regular season starts.
What do you think about these exhibition games against Lemoyne, Owen, and freaking Lane?
I mean,
listen. Feed the hometown schools. Like,
get some money.
Have fun with them.
Does it get some money? In their pockets?
They get a little bit of money. It's like a buy game,
right?
But all like you're showing them love. But 106 to 49 is just like, damn.
Yeah.
You don't got to do that to those poor guys.
No, but I mean,
but also you're seeing more teams
Bigger
in the offseason.
teams.
Tennessee played with Michigan State this weekend. Like, I wonder if Penny goes down that road. And I think he sort of mentioned it. After the game.
Okay.
He said, "Yeah, I like these games because I get to play, guys I know. We're very good friends with them."
That's what I was about to say. Think about it from Penny's perspective. It's kind of a catch-22 because we know how.
But I know Penny wants to play a higher ranking exhibition game.
And that's what I'm saying. It's like how do you make a decision on that? Because you're helping out these teams in the hometown, and we know how big he is on Memphis and just loyalty overall.
How much does that money mean for them, though? Like, maybe a little bit?
I don't know how much money it is. So
but then they come into the FedEx Forum and you beat the hell out of them.
Right. Yeah. So I don't know. I could see it going either way. I could see him continuing to do this because it helps people out and stuff like that. But also, we know how he is about competition and playing a top-level team before the season starts. It just makes sense, especially with a team of this caliber.
And it makes sense with the way Penny's scheduling out-of-conference games. Like, you want to play...
To be ready by the time those games come.
You need
to know
play
what top
some
competition looks like.
To feel that top competition, whether it's a win or loss, I'm not going to freak out either way.
Right.
You can have some takeaways from it. But if you're going to play Texas A&M and Mizzou and all these teams in the battle for Atlantis... in the first 2 months of the season,
then you're
I think it's smarter to try to go schedule a big opponent in the offseason.
Well, then you're dang near better off just doing a scrimmage game like Kentucky did last week than playing a Lane or Lemoyne because you're not getting anything from that. Really, you're getting an in-game scenario.
Yeah,
but
you're getting to play other guys.
Right, but as far as a look against superior talent or just good Division I level talent, you're not doing that. So I almost think I don't want to say you're setting yourself back because I still think it's good to be able to get live game reps, but I don't think you're putting yourself ahead as much because you're not ready for that level of not that you're not ready, you just haven't seen it. You haven't seen it,
and I think almost like if you're gonna play a hometown game, like I don't know, like Lane is just they try like in D2, they play up and down. So it's like a bad matchup where you don't have anybody tall. You have this fast team that's trying to deal with another fast team in the Tigers who's going to try to get up and down and use athleticism. Like CBU is weirdly enough more of a challenge to go play because they're going to slow it down and run offense and shoot some threes and try to, play very, I don't know, slow, deliberate basketball. It just becomes more of a challenge that way. But against a team like Lane, it's just like, the matchup's not there, and the talent doesn't even come close to where you're really getting a real look.
Yeah.
You may be playing another team, but I don't know if that's giving you any – I'm not seeing anything from this. I don't know how much I'm gaining from it.
Yeah.
Penny said in the postgame after the Lane game, he was talking about that very thing. And he said something that I think has kind of caught fire in the city of Memphis and honestly kind of around college basketball. And that's that he said, listen, I've given thought to the fact that our non-conference schedule is so heavy so quickly because of our conference schedule, basically saying that the AAC is not strong, which is true.
Well, he said it. You assume he's saying that based on what he said about the non-conference schedule. He said the non-conference schedule is our schedule.
Yeah.
That is almost word for word. If I'm not mistaken.
He said it's our season, basically.
It's our season. Yes.
So do you?
He's not wrong.
He's not
wrong.
And like, if you want to listen, if there's like other fan bases or teams in the AAC that want to take that as like some type of bulletin board material, take it. Who gives a damn? If you need that, take it. But
it's the truth.
He's not lying a bit. And quite frankly, if I am a coach for the University of Memphis basketball team right now, I want all my guys to understand that.
Yes.
I want them to know, hey, you're coming up on non-con. That's the first thing we have to play. Not only is it the most immediate thing in front of you, but this is going to move your seed line.
Yes.
This is going to... based on what we do in the non-con, who we beat, top 25 teams, how we do in the battle for Atlantis, that is going to tell us our placement by the time we get to the NCAA tournament, and that should mean the most to you guys.
And it's the only thing that's going to move their seed line.
Exactly.
Look at what FAU did last year, right? Against basically this conference.
Yes.
This is
Lost 3 games.
This is CUSA 2.0.
They lost 3 games
and they
all
lost
year.
And they lost 3 games, and they were a 9 seed. So if you're Memphis, you could go run that conference slate and play crappy non-conference teams and have
lose
that,
one freaking game in
right,
conference.
and have that 30+ win record, and you're gonna be an 8 or 9 seed. But if you beat Virginia and Clemson and A&M and some of these top level teams, whatever you do in the battle for Atlantis and stuff like that, your seed line will absolutely go up.
Yes, and that's what you want.
Yes.
Because you know how annoying it is to be a 30-win team playing from the 8 line?
Right. And having to play a 1 seed?
Have to play a 1 seed in
Right.
the second round. You want to... I'm almost glad Penny said that. Regardless of who it offends, right? I'm glad he said that because that tells me that's what he's preaching behind closed doors, and that's what you should be preaching behind closed
100%.
doors.
Yep. So we're talking about the NCAA tournament. We're talking about seeds where Memphis could potentially lie depending on the record.
Yep.
We've got ourselves a number 1 seed.
Okay.
And I'm not talking about the University of Memphis Tigers. Potentially, not really, but potentially, who knows? Talking about, you know what I'm talking about. The guy, the man, the myth, the legend, all that cliche stuff. Our number 1 seed, Kenny Stubblefield. We are going to take a quick break. We're going to see on the other side what our number 1 seed, Kenny Stubblefield, has cooked up for us in the Hot 3.
Bluff City Media and Bluff City NIL are proud partners of Coaching for Literacy, a Memphis nonprofit using the power of sports to impact childhood literacy. When you donate to Bluff City NIL through Coaching for Literacy, your gift is 100% tax deductible. This partnership is a win-win-win. Tiger student athletes win in the NIL landscape. Coaching for Literacy wins by engaging Tiger student athletes in this monumental cause. And most importantly, elementary students in Memphis receive support to become strong readers. To donate today, visit coachingforliteracy.org/bluff-city.
This Tiger basketball thing is interesting going forward because we like to say when we're patting ourselves on the back as a community, like Tigers play in a non-Power 5 conference, and they can still get 18,000. They don't get 18,000. People say that all the time still. Yeah. Oh, man, the Tigers get 18,000 a game. They don't. They can.
Right.
They don't. Ever. Not anymore. I wonder if Tiger basketball can never grab the city the way it once did. You know, I grew up idolizing, or at least looking up to, Keith Lee, Andre Turner, Penny Hardaway, Elliot Perry. My kids are growing up talking about John Morant, Jaren Jackson, and Desmond Bain.
Right.
They don't. My kids would not know any Memphis basketball player from this team, from last year's team. And I just don't know if kids are growing up with it the way you and I grew up with it.
It doesn't mean the same to them.
That's something that university is going to have to figure out going forward.
Tune in to the Anthony Sane Show Wednesdays and Fridays at 12 p.m. weekly on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel. Did Trent Dilfer break bro code?
You talking about with the
Yes.
QB?
Yes, he did.
Sitch?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. It's hard for me to say because we're not there. They said he just didn't pass protocol that day. So at what point did he take the concussion protocol test? I have no idea. But I will tell you that Ryan was not happy in the radio post game about it at all.
Well, I think they're supposed to give you a list, and maybe they did, saying that, hey, he's questionable, he may not make it. I heard nothing over Zeno not playing.
Oh, no.
Yeah,
It
up
wasn't
until,
until McMurphy tweeted it at, I don't know,
like literally as they were kicking off.
10:30 that he wasn't playing. I had no clue either. But yeah, Ryan was not happy. He said something to the effect of like, I will always remain to be open and let people know what's going on injury-wise and who is playing, who's not.
Sure.
They throw a quarterback out there with full pads and a helmet on, warming up, and then don't play him. That was obviously very annoying.
Tune in to Tigers Untapped with TJ Willis and Trey Lasley every Wednesday at 3 p.m. on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel.
Discover a world of possibilities at Streetcars of Memphis. Revamp your ride with the ultimate auto transformation. From booming audio systems to eye-catching wheels, powerful lift kits to sleek drop kits, cutting-edge LED lights and light bars, we've got it all. Unleash your style with confidence. Feel the next level of auto care at Streetcars of Memphis. Your dream ride is just a visit away. Visit us online at www.901scm.com and let the transformation begin.
I am the number 1 seed.
Okay, all right.
Thank you for
And I
My
am,
man.
And I am not Purdue. I will not lose in the first round.
Okay. Got you.
Maybe the second,
Okay.
Maybe the second.
Okay. I hope not even that.
but not the first.
I got you, brother.
Hey,
What you got for us,
Hey,
man?
this is the Hot 3, man, sponsored by Streetcars of Memphis. I want to say I really jacked up the website last week on the show. I apologize, Streetcars of Memphis. Streetcars of Memphis is awesome. They're a locally owned by Memphians car place. You can go and get all of your just normal car stuff done. But if you want to pimp your ride out, man, they can do that too. They can put in all kinds of tires. They can put sound systems. They can jack your ride up. They can do a bunch of fun stuff. Streetcars of Memphis, check it out. Link is in the description. Link is in the bio of this video. Go check them out, Streetcars of Memphis. Shout out to those guys for sponsoring the Hot 3.
Nice. Now, they can pimp your ride like Exhibit. Y'all remember that show?
Oh, yeah, I used to
love
love
that show. Although it was kind of funny. Somebody just needed like a regular old vehicle. And
Right.
they're
And
like, I'm going to put a Sprite dispenser in
Yeah.
in the middle of
Yeah.
your car.
Yeah.
Actually, you have a fryer in the back of your car?
Yeah, you have the least practical vehicle of all
Ever.
time now.
Yes. But it looks cool. It
Yeah.
looks cool as hell.
Yeah.
There was a few of those where you watched and they'd be like, you just need a totally new car. So we're going to get you a new car.
Yeah.
Like, I saw one where this guy brought in, for a fact, this dude went to some like dump and said, just give me a car. And this is the one I ride in. And it was like two separate cars
Molded together,
welded
yeah.
together. And anyway, hilarious
Just
stuff.
putting up to a lot.
Just putting up. This is what I drive in every day with my 3 kids to work. Yeah, Pimp My Ride was a wild show. Exhibit. I saw him. He did a halftime show for the Warriors this past week, and boy likes his food.
He's okay.
He's
Did
a
you
hefty
see-
boy. He's a hefty boy.
He got
now.
fat. He got fat.
Yeah.
There's a couple of guys. Did you see like was it the Knicks who did their like former player celebrity game and Raymond Felton is
Oh,
massive.
was that actually him?
Yeah, it was Raymond Felton.
Are you sure?
I swear to you.
I thought it was a
hand
joke.
up to
I
God.
thought it was
No,
a joke.
That is Raymond Felton. He's
He
fat
looks
as
like
hell.
a refrigerator.
And by the way, speaking of Exhibit, did you see? Was it Flava Flav who sang the? Where did he sing the national anthem? Was that in Milwaukee?
He was in Milwaukee. He sang it out.
they let Flava
Who the
Flav.
hell thought? Who signed off on that?
That's absurd.
Flava Flav singing the national anthem, but funny.
Even like 15 years ago, you would have been like, okay,
Singing, yeah,
but
what
at
are you
least he's
doing?
relevant. And now it's like,
What are you doing?
yeah, most
Why
people
Flavor
don't
Flav? Like
Yeah.
what? Yeah. Is he still a thing?
I don't know.
I
not
mean,
that I know
he's
of.
alive and he is still Flava Flav.
You know what I'm saying.
But it didn't
Relevant?
like he had
No.
the Flavor of Love.
The show?
Yeah, the
Those
show
shows
for a while.
Those shows were such a
Wild.
hot mess, bro.
Yeah, of course.
They were a hot mess.
What do you say? These are like mid 20-year-old women fighting for like Flava Flav who's 50's heart.
Right.
Like, well, of course it's gonna be a hot mess
Yeah.
and a joke, man. What are we talking about?
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
All right, let's
But
get
enough
to
of
the
that.
let's get to the hot 3.
Enough.
We're gonna do a hot 3+1 today, though. You guys ready for the +1?
Okay.
I'm gonna add it to the beginning of it. So you guys were talking in the previous segment. If you haven't heard the previous segment, go back and listen. You guys were talking about these super secretive scrimmages that these college teams are playing. Should Memphis do that? Should they stay playing Lane and Lemoyne Owen and CBU? You guys were talking about the whole topic.
Right.
FAU played 2 super secret scrimmages this past week. Played UNC in 1, lost by 20. Then they played UCF a couple of days ago and lost by 14. Does this change the way you feel about FAU?
Well, Not particularly. Preseason scrimmages, maybe you're throwing out some young guys. You don't want to get Elijah Martin and you don't want to get those guys hurt. But I'm am I the only one who's just not? I'm not. I don't think they're a top 10 team in the country.
No, I mean
I just don't.
I agree.
I'm sorry. Maybe I'm being disrespectful by thinking that part of their run to the Final Four could have been a little bit gimmicky. Getting Fairleigh Dickinson in the second round, barely escaping against Memphis. If Memphis would have got a timeout and would have turned the ball over on the final possession of the game. And then you get Tennessee in the Sweet 16. And Tennessee always loses at some point in the NCAA tournament. I mean, part of it's gimmicky to me. I do give them credit for getting there, but I won't be surprised if they're a worse team than they were last year.
Yeah.
It's hard to stay at that type of peak.
Yeah.
It's hard to lose only 3 games in a season.
Yeah.
Or 4 counting the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, to be honest, Kenny, I really don't have a lot more to add to that. Gabe kind of nailed that one. So
Well, there we go. All right, so let's go to the.
I talk too much, huh?
Yep.
I say too many words. Sorry, brother.
Let's go to the hot 3 then.
Okay.
All right, here we go. The Grizzlies have started this season 0-3.
They've started it.
They've
I don't know if
started.
they've actually mentally
But
started.
have
Yeah,
they
right.
started? That's they've started, but have they started? They're 0-3. They're actually right now, as we're recording, playing the Dallas Mavericks.
Down
They're
by 8.
Down by 8 in the third quarter. 0-3 start. What are your guys' thoughts so far? What you've seen from the Grizzlies?
You have the floor since I overtalked you on that last one.
we talked about this as soon as we figured out about the Ja Morant suspension, right? That breaking even, being at 500 after those games would be a relatively successful stint. It's not off to a pretty start at all. 0-3, potentially 0-4. It's not looking good, and it's not just that they're losing these games. It just hasn't been a pretty product on the floor overall. I mean, getting your guys to play well at the same time. We've seen different individual performances, but it hasn't passed the eye test. How about that, Gabe?
I think that defensively they've been fine. Jaren's still there.
3
He's
blocks a game.
leading the league in blocks, I think, at this point through 3 games. And he looks fine. Marcus Smart has been as advertised, in my opinion, perimeter defense-wise. But offensively...
I think he's second leading scorer right now, isn't he?
Yeah, just offensively, they don't have enough answers. And, the problem you run into is Dez and Jaren cannot have off nights if you want to win ball games and you want to score enough. Score enough points to go win a ball game. So they're just running into this issue of not having enough good players on the floor or on the roster right this second. I had this question to bring up.
Okay.
And I brought it up last Friday. So the injured list right now, the injury report reads Ja, Steven Adams, Brandon Clark, their mainstays till Ja gets back from his 25-game suspension. But then you have Santi and Luke Kennard. The starting lineup has been Marcus Smart, Desmond Bane, Zaire Williams, Xavier Tillman, Jaren Jackson Jr. Which lineup are you taking? 7-game series. Which lineup are you taking? I'm taking the injury
I think
report.
you have to take the injury.
You have the shooting with Luke and Santi at 3, which I think could be a relatively natural position for him.
The playmaker.
You
at
have
1.
Ja Morant and you have Steven Adams setting Ja Morant
Right.
screens, getting second chance opportunities.
And then BC.
And then Brandon Clark getting second chance opportunities, lobs at the rim, bunch of rebounding. Maybe you lose a little defense with that group, but that team will... I think
score.
that team would be very solid
They
offensively.
could score, for sure.
But point being...
Let me ask you this. What do you think? How much do you think Luke Kennard and Santi coming back help this team?
Jake LaRavia is off the floor immediately. I think that would help everyone. I think he's been horrible, guys.
Yeah.
And we've been nice to this front office. If we're looking back at that draft where they offloaded D'Anthony and got David Roddy, who's a solid role player, but I don't know if his ceiling's high enough.
Right.
And then Jake LaRavia, that was a misstep.
Yeah.
Sorry. And maybe what you wanted at that moment was a wing, right? You wanted a wing. Maybe you went too hard after it.
Yeah.
Okay? Hindsight 2020, that was a misstep. But no, I think Santi would immediately give you an offensive punch and a rebounding punch as well, potentially, because he is 7 foot.
Right.
And then Luke Kennard immediately brings the shooting that you need.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. The reason I pose that question is I just feel like Luke Kennard solves a lot of the issues that we're seeing right now.
Yeah, well, it solves a little bit. Now, the problem with him is before he even got hurt with the concussion, he was counting preseason in the first game 4 for 23 from 3.
I mean, yes, he has been off.
But that's Luke.
It's Luke Kennard is
Right.
going to get back to his 40% 3-point ways. Like, I'm not going to freak out about that. But I don't. I think they have more issues than that. I think they need another big.
I'm not disagreeing with that. I just think he helps a lot with the offensive woes that we're talking about, not only with the shooting but with the spacing as well.
I got posed this. If the Grizzlies after the first 25 were 11-14, would you sign up for that right now? Or would you just if you could sign up for it? Jeff Calkins posed this to me, and I thought it was interesting. 11-14, you can sign up for that now. You'll lock it in, or you just leave it up to chance.
I think you lock it in.
I would lock in 11.
I think you lock it in.
That means you're playing 500 ball.
And then you bring,
and
like I think one thing people do need to realize is that after 20 some odd more games, you're going to have a top 15 player back in the lineup. That helps a lot. That helps a hell of a lot. So, I don't want to go full sky is falling, but they are in a very, very bad way right now because of all the injuries and the bad luck they've had. Now they did after the first 5 games, they're going to sign my man Bismack Biyombo.
Yeah.
I saw Sane say this, Kenny, and I agree with him wholeheartedly. I feel like he'll be a fan favorite as soon as he comes back. Not only because it's like everybody's thirsty right now.
Yeah.
You know, give them a drink of water.
Yeah.
And he's like, he helps with what they need, but also energy, shot blocking, big man, rebounding, like all those things, the grit, you know, that endears yourself to fans. I feel like he'll be a fan favorite because I also remember when Joakim Noah was a damn fan favorite at the end of his career. Like, I know that Bismack Biyombo is non-sexy of a signing as that is. I just know that Grizzlies fans will latch on to that guy and like him.
Well, and he just does exactly what you need him to do.
Exactly.
Again, like if I'm in the desert and I need water, give me
something.
Give me something.
Give me a cup of water.
Yeah, give me a drop of water.
Yeah, I think that's what just a drop of water is pretty much what you're looking at here.
But that's what this is. I think it helps for the time being, but Grizzlies are just in a. We had our window talk last week.
Yep.
When the Steven Adams news came down.
Yep.
It's just you never know what can happen.
Nope.
Brandon Clark tears his Achilles. Steven Adams is gone for a whole year. Ja's out 25 games. Things spiral on you.
Yep. All right, Kenny. Next topic.
Number 2, we had this fight was billed as a big fight. Obviously, Tyson Fury, the lineal champion, the heavyweight champion, one of the best heavyweight fighters probably to ever lace on the gloves, fought against Francis Ngannou, who is the former heavyweight champion for the UFC. Obviously, totally different styles of combat, mixed martial arts versus boxing. But Francis has been talking about wanting this fight for years. He ended up actually leaving the UFC for this fight. That fight happened this weekend. And man, Tyson eked out a victory, but what were your guys' thoughts on that?
Did Francis win though?
Yeah.
Because I want to get that out of head. Like, I think he won.
I do too.
Pretty sure he won.
And that
did way more damage. Just if you look at both of their faces, Francis was not even touched up.
No.
And my man Tyson had a hell of a black eye.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. I was very surprised by Francis Ngannou in this fight. Because you think about, we've seen a lot of mixed martial artists transition and try boxing.
Conor McGregor.
Yeah, Conor McGregor, Anderson Silva, Ben Askren. I know a lot of these have been in these kind of gimmicky fights, but Anderson Silva, even at the age that he's at, you expected him to look at least decent, and he really didn't. So then you pull out a big heavyweight like Francis Ngannou, who is known for his striking, I guess, but it's more
he's got the hardest
his power.
He's got the hardest recorded punch of all time.
Of all time. So he's more known for his power than his finesse with striking or his defense. Yeah, it's just overall boxing. So to see him go toe to toe with, as Kenny said, one of the greatest heavyweight fighters of all time, and in a lot of people's opinion, including ours, win the fight,
knocked him down in the third,
scored a knockdown. Like, that's extremely impressive. And they're already saying Eddie Hearn has already come out and said that he wants to see him fight Anthony Joshua.
I would like to
Man,
see.
that
I would
fight.
almost like to see this whole thing run back.
Yeah,
Because I'm curious how it would end it. Like, because I know Tyson takes him serious now.
yeah,
If he didn't before, now you do.
yeah.
Because he clearly.
split decision.
Mike
didn't-
Tyson was there for his whole camp as like a coach, if you will. That
Yeah.
clearly helped Francis in those moments. But the thing about Francis is he was never knocked down in the UFC. His chin is made of steel. You can't do anything. There was an elbow at one point that Tyson Fury threw out there and like.
Connected with him, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't even know if Francis Ngannou blinked his
Right,
eyes.
right.
Like he just doesn't care. And like a lot of boxers aren't used to that. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
a guy who can just stand there and not be
eat it.
scared of your power and those fat gloves, the big gloves, and the slightest.
Yeah.
So like it's a different thing. And altogether, if you get caught by even if it's 8-ounce gloves, 4 ounce than 8. What are the ones in
I think
boxing?
boxing is like 10,
10 ounce,
10 or 12,
whatever it is, 10. But even with the 10 to 12 ounce gloves, whatever they are, like Francis has enough pop to put you on your ass, and
Clearly.
he showed that against Tyson. And I do want to say I'm happy for Francis Ngannou, man. He didn't like what was going to happen to him in the UFC. People can disagree about it all the time. Dana White sort of laughed in his face about doing the whole boxing thing.
And he
But-
just secured the bag.
He got the bag, and he's taken seriously in boxing now at this
Yeah.
point because you went toe-to-toe, split decision, arguably won the fight against the best heavyweight of the last decade.
Yeah. And not only did he get the boxing bag, he also got the PFL bag. So
Yes.
Francis Ngannou is raking it in.
Yeah, so you whatever you thought of his decision at the time, it's worked out for him.
Yeah.
Is Dana White the biggest loser in all this? Because he came out and really said some pretty harsh things about Francis when that decision was made.
I mean,
Francis-
I would say the UFC as a whole, because especially now, because the thing is that Dana was not going to allow him to go box. If Dana would have allowed him to go box and he put up this kind of fight against Tyson Fury,
That brings more eyes to UFC.
Francis Ngannou is a way bigger draw now than he was before.
Francis is now on an international scale like he wasn't even before with just the UFC bag.
Right.
You fight Tyson Fury. Where were they at? Were they
Saudi.
They're in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
No, like you're an international superstar at that point.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, yes,
I-
I guess Dana White is clearly part of that, but I just say the UFC as a whole,
They lost.
fans,
They lost.
money, viewership, all the way around. The UFC lost on not having
And
Francis
this
Ngannou under
dude,
contract.
this dude was like, he was in quarries as a kid,
yeah.
homeless. Like,
his
didn't
story
look good.
Is it
God,
I think it's
man.
Diamond Mines. Is
Yeah,
what-
Yeah,
His story is
man,
crazy.
It's insane, man. Like what he's had to overcome to get where he's at. It's just, I can't imagine it. Like most people would just crumble under those conditions, maybe dead already.
Right.
Do you think that Francis stays in boxing, or does he go back to the? I mean, honestly, man, like MMA is his sport, but he's fighting in the PFL. Like, does he go back and fights in the PFL, or does
I mean,
he
he's
stay? in
under-
boxing?
he's under contract in the
What's the
PFL.
what's the Scarface thing? The world is yours.
Yeah.
He can do whatever the hell he wants.
Yeah, for sure.
He is now
He's
on that level.
He's a made man.
Yes, he can whatever he desires to do outside of the UFC. Because I don't know if that Dana probably holds grudges more than any other damn commissioner.
Dana would let him come back.
But either way,
Oh,
like.
Francis came back and said, "Let me come." Oh my god!
But do you think that Dana would change his tune about
Yes.
him boxing,
Yes.
releasing him to
Oh,
box?
maybe not releasing him to box. Possibly, potentially, but he would definitely let him come back and fight.
Yeah, either way, the world is his. He can do whatever the hell he
Yeah.
wants going forward, and I love that for him because he seems like a down to earth
Yeah, he
guy.
does. He does. All right, Kenny, last topic and we'll get out of here.
Last topic, obviously NFL news and notes. Man, there's been some of the man. Was this week.
Start there, buddy.
Start there.
Listen, I gotta say, there were some surprising things this week. I don't think this is the most surprising, but it's up there. Will Levis, what was it, 19 for 29, 230 some odd yards, 4 touchdowns.
Yeah.
But it is kind of funny that it's the first time that a rookie has thrown for 4 TDs in his debut since
Marcus
Mariota with the Titans.
Yeah.
Just kind of, it's not great company to keep.
Yeah. So
But the other one was Fran Tarkenton. That's good company.
And that is good company. So, I mean, I was surprised. Obviously, if people have listened to us for a while now, they know my stance on Will Levis, and I am not a Will Levis fan. I thought he was all, potential and maybe didn't have it up top.
No real juice.
Beach body.
And this doesn't change my mind completely. Like I said, I was impressed. He didn't come out and throw 3 interceptions like I expected him to. He looked really good. And that deep ball, I mean, we know he has a piss missile of an arm.
That deep ball he threw over top was unreasonable.
Yeah, he's always had a cannon of an arm. So
Was that one to
DeAndre Hopkins.
that was the DeAndre Hopkins?
What was the
Okay.
last one that he threw?
He threw
over
one to Akina.
DeAndre Hopkins.
He threw one to Nick Westbrook Akina as well.
Yeah,
There's
the
3
that
for
was-
DeAndre Hopkins,
and
which is
one-
cool to see, by the way, from
Right.
him.
Yeah,
he
so
said, I feel like Geno. People writing me off.
yeah.
128, 3 TDs later, I don't think we're writing them off anymore.
Of course, Sam Laporte scores the second touchdown.
But no, that deep ball he threw to DeAndre Hopkins was uncorked, and he didn't have his feet set.
Just
and it was
moonshot.
perfect.
Yeah.
Dropped it in
so
a bucket.
impressive. Yes, I can't take anything away from his performance because it was.
We know that quarterbacking in the National Football League can be flaky week to week.
Yes, it can.
Okay.
Yes, it can.
We know
Our
when film
Titans
gets out
fans-
on you and what you want to do, and if you're
Right.
targeting a guy so many times,
Right.
like it can get flaky, especially for young guys. So I don't think this is necessarily going to be the end all be all. It's one performance.
And Atlanta didn't really know what they were prepared. Where you're preparing for Malik Willis and the way that the Titans played with him last year when they would run the ball 50 times a game when Malik Willis
Underrated
played.
part of that game, though, that helped out Will Levis substantially is they finally got Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry was running the ball well. I think he had 102 yards.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was like his first time really getting him unleashed a little bit.
Right.
So that was
averaging
helpful.
more than 3 yards per carry.
That was helpful. But no, good first start. Keep it going.
We'll see how it goes.
Yes.
Let's talk about the San Francisco 49ers because
Speaking of quarterback being flaky week to week in the
I'm
National Football
old
League.
enough to remember this team being world beaters and destroying my Dallas Cowboys by 32 points.
Wasn't that like 3 weeks ago?
It was
4 weeks ago.
Yeah.
That was their last win.
And yeah, it was. And we were
wild.
saying this team is the best team in the NFL. They don't have any weaknesses. They have now lost 3 consecutive games to the PJ Walker-led Browns, the Vikings in primetime last Monday night, and then this week, who did they lose to? Well, I don't
Bengals.
blink. Yeah,
Bengals.
the Bengals. Coming off a bye. Bengals came off a bye. Joe Burrow had his best game of the season. This Bengals offense that hasn't been able to move the ball all year consistently.
Jamar Chase
went
got his
up
game
and
off.
down and up and down and up and down the field on what we thought was the best defense in football and the best overall team in football. I know where you want to go, straight to Brock Purdy.
No.
You got
I
something
was
else?
going to say, we'll talk about Brock Purdy. But I think this is where you want to go with it, too. Like, it is Brock Purdy's one thing, okay? Second-year quarterback. He started, 11 games in his career? Or not 11. He's up to 13 now in his career, I believe. I think that's the number in the regular season.
Yeah, I
Whatever
think
it
you're
is.
right.
But what really just jumps off for me about these last 3 weeks is defensively, they're just not the same team, and they're not missing anyone.
No.
They've only added. They added Randy Gregory.
Right.
They didn't subtract. Like Fred Warner's still healthy. Dre Greenlaw's still healthy. Nick Bosa's still healthy.
Eric
Javon
Armstead.
Hargrave is still healthy. Eric Armstead, like all these guys, Talanoa Hufanga is still
Right.
healthy. Their entire secondary still healthy, and they just have looked worse and worse by the week. And I think it was capped off by Joe Burrow, 283 yards, 3
3
TDs.
touchdowns, yeah.
So like, I don't know. I just find it strange that their defense is regressing.
Yeah, and if it was just their passing defense, you would say okay because Travarius Ward,
Maybe they're not getting enough pressure,
and you're like, oh,
whatever
okay,
it is.
their back end's not necessarily the best. But Joe Mixon ran all over them yesterday, and the Bengals are notorious over the last 3 years for not being a good running team.
And don't forget, Kirk Cousins is coming off of 300. I know he tore his Achilles. Sad about that.
Yeah,
But 378 yards a week before.
yeah.
This defense,
With no Justin Jefferson.
the defense is like, that should be mainstay, no issues there. You should worry about the offense with a damn Mr. Irrelevant at quarterback and then some injuries with Trent Williams and Deebo Samuel. I think that's almost more understandable than the way the defense is playing right now.
Yeah, and Brock Purdy has not looked good.
Well, I mean, yeah.
Or as good.
I mean, this was my worry from the beginning of the season, and people wanted to smack me down after the first 5 weeks because they were winning ball games. But I said, okay, take away a couple of these weapons, have a little bit of injury issues. Trent Williams and Deebo Samuel, that's what he's missing.
Yeah.
And he's thrown 5 picks in the last 3 weeks, and they've lost all 3 games. Mm-hmm. Why was he good before? Get the ball into Debo's hands, Brandon Ayuk's hands, George Kittle's hands, Christian McCaffrey's hands. Let them go cook, and do not throw interceptions and turn the ball over. That's all flipped on its head, and all he's missing is Trent Williams and Deebo Samuel.
Yeah.
I mean, when you're asked to take on more of the weight of the offense, when you have to be the center of attention, can you make the throws that are necessary to go win ball games? He's shown, it's been a resounding no 3 weeks in a row.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Before we move on, though, Christian McCaffrey, ridiculous. 13 touchdowns this year. Scored a touchdown in, what is it, like 17 consecutive games now?
I go back to, I know that people get worried about his
injury history,
but why was he not the number 1 guy in fantasy?
He should have been.
I got him at number 3 in 2 leagues.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's awesome.
Absolutely
I
crazy.
love it. I've been living life.
I'm sure
man.
you have.
Hadn't missed any time
13
really.
touchdowns. Have you seen the stats on if you bet on his first touchdown initially and you rolled it, or his to score a touchdown?
Do you have it? Do you have them locked up in your head? What is it?
So he scored a touchdown in 17 consecutive games, right?
Yeah.
If you started with that first game betting on him to score anytime touchdown, and you used your winnings to bet it every week,
Yeah.
you rolled it over, you'd currently be sitting at $1.5 million.
That's depressing. What was your start bet? What would be the start?
I
bet?
don't remember. Maybe $100. I don't
Okay,
remember exactly what the start
probably
bet
100.
was. Probably $100.
At least $100.
Probably.
Yeah,
But
that's wild.
You'd currently be at $1.5 million.
That's wild.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Kansas City Chiefs, let's hit on that real quick and then we'll get out of here. Patrick Mahomes, reports surfaced of him having the flu. There was a lot of flu game, Michael Jordan flu game talk going around. He had the opposite of a Michael Jordan flu game. 3 turnovers, looked absolutely terrible. Chiefs couldn't really move the ball much, especially in the second half, couldn't score inside the red zone in the first half, and they lost to the hapless, terrible, horrible
Broncos.
Denver Broncos.
Well, in a 16 game streak.
Yes,
You know how hard it is, by the way, though? Like 16 games with a team that's in your division.
Yeah,
That you have to
just
play twice a
continuously
year.
beat that
the
team.
hell out of them. Last time that the Broncos won, it was Peyton Manning versus Alex Smith.
Yep. Patrick Mahomes' sophomore year of college at Texas Tech.
Nice. There we go.
Yeah.
Well, they finally got the monkey off their back. Chiefs are a flawed football team to me.
Yeah.
That doesn't make me think that any substantially less of them. I still think they can win the AFC and win a Super Bowl.
Yep.
I think they need more help in the wide receiver room because if Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes aren't clicking on all cylinders offensively, they haven't looked good this year.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I think Rashee Rice is the answer. He's looked really.
He's
really
their leading
good.
receiver.
He's
But
looked,
I mean, outside of Travis
yeah,
Kelce,
he's
of course.
looked
their wide
really
receiver.
really good, but he's not getting like an elite level of target. He's getting like 4 or 5 targets a game.
Man, okay, sure. Rashee Rice is if he's the answer though, that's a lame answer.
Oh, I mean, it's
you know who
not
their second leading wide receiver in receiving yards is?
probably Sky
Justin
Moore.
Watson,
That's even worse.
and he missed 2 weeks.
Yeah.
They need wide receiver help, and McCole Hardman's not enough. I'm sorry.
No, definitely.
I don't care how familiar you are with
Yeah,
him, but
he's
the
a-
reason they lost this game in particular, 5 damn turnovers.
Right.
Yeah, that'll do it for you.
Yep.
No, it does make me laugh though. Have you? And I know that stats don't tell the whole story. Have you seen Russell Wilson's stats this year?
Yeah, they're actually good.
101 QBR, a quarterback rating, 1,600 yards, 66% completion percentage, 16 TDs, 4 INTs.
Yeah.
Pretty damn good, honestly.
But then you watch it, you're like, oh my
Then you're like,
gosh.
it's a lame, yeah. It's just, I don't think Sean Payton. I have a weird it's kind of hard to talk about him because I think he's a great coach, but I don't know if he's adapted to Russell Wilson the way he should have. But he should get a little credit for turning around Russell Wilson
Yeah, it's
compared
been
to
a
what he
whole-
was last year.
At least stats wise, it's been a whole hell of
Yeah.
a lot better than last year.
Hell yes.
Yeah.
No question about it. So I think he needs a little credit for that, but that team's still no good.
No, absolutely not. All right, we are going to wrap it up and get out of here. We appreciate you guys for hanging out with us once again this week. As we say every week, head over to bluffcitymedia.co. Check out everything we got going over there. Articles, podcasts, all that good stuff. We're obviously in the midst of football season, basketball season, getting ready to start up. So it can be your one-stop shop for all things Memphis sports. So once again, if you're watching YouTube, subscribe, like, comment, all that good stuff. Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts, you can is it subscribe?
Subscribe.
Something
you can
like
subscribe.
that.
Yeah, subscribe.
I don't know if it's subscribe.
Subscribe.
You can leave a rating. I know that you can leave
can
a
do
rating.
that.
You can be notified.
Even a comment if you want. Yeah.
You can be notified every week when a show drops. So we appreciate you
You can
guys.
absolutely subscribe on Spotify.
Okay,
Yes.
there you go. All right, so we appreciate you guys for joining us, and we will see you back here next week.
Thank you for listening to On the Bluff. If you enjoyed this episode, leave a rating and a review wherever you download your podcasts. Also, like and subscribe to Bluff City Media's YouTube page. Head over to www.bluffcitymedia.co for comprehensive coverage of Memphis sports and how you can become an insider.